Hello, everyone. Really good to see you. Today, we're going to go over the new features in the latest version of Quirkos 1.5. The first of those is the word clouds. So let's have a quick look at this one here. Now, to access this feature, you just click on the report button on the left and choose Create Word Cloud instead of Report. It'll pop up with a separate kind of report in a very similar screen if you're familiar with the other one. I'll just make this a bit bigger so we can see. Here's the word cloud of all the different words which are in there. And you can see on the right here, there's a bunch of options for which sources to include. So at the moment, and by default, it shows all the different sources in the project. This is just our standard breakfast example project again. But if I untick Sarah, for example, it'll update. Now it doesn't have her vocabulary in it, and Jane's as well. So there's a lot of scope to customize exactly which sources we want to show there. The word size dialog here, we'll just actually zoom this out a little bit. There we go. Allows you to kind of basically zoom in and out by changing the size, the default size of the words. And you'll see you want to get a nice size. So you can see the shape, but it still kind of fits on the screen. So that's pretty good around there. You'll see it's filling out with all these little words. These are probably the words that only appear once in the screen. So with this word threshold slider here, you can actually slide that forward and just take off some of those small words. So there they go. So that's probably taken off the ones which only have one occurrence. I can always slide them back on. We can also just keep to the very common words in there. That's more useful to us. So again, it's all being regenerated on the fly, so you can kind of play with it and examine it and see whether that's useful to you. The other option you've got here is the rotate words. So by default, it's only putting them horizontally and vertically like this, kind of in a 90-degree rotation. But you can also have a more varied rotation if you want something a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more zany. And you can, again, just click that on and off. And every time you do it, it's basically randomizing the position and the size of some of these words. So it will be a little different every time. Here is for the shape of the cloud. Now I've got this kind of oval circle shape here at the moment. But if we drop down here, we can choose to have a diamond shape. We can have a star. That's kind of fun. Again, we can choose any of the other options to go with that. So that works quite well for that, actually. And then we've got these triangles, one kind of going from the left to the right of the screen, this kind of way, and another one kind of sitting upright, like that. Those are all pretty good shapes. I kind of like the star one, so let's keep that one for now. Now, you'll see we've got quite a lot of words here which aren't very useful here. So we've got usually, it's, so, get, I'll, so these probably aren't very useful. If you look below here, you'll see there's this option for the stop words. So by default, it takes pretty much the kind of 50th most common words in the English language and excludes them. So ones like a, all, and. So if we untick and, yeah, okay, so and was one of the most common words in there. And probably something like for is there. Well, no, but something, I guess, the is probably there a lot. Yeah, so you can see it's already excluding some of the kind of common but boring words. So you can choose to turn off all of them if you like. And so there you see, okay, already we get a very different kind of pattern there where it's showing us all the different words in the project. These very common words are kind of taking over and dominating here. Yeah, that's kind of fun to play with. But if we turn those off, we can also customize this. So for example, we can add a new word. So I don't want to see that anymore. We can take that away. Usually that's the boring, so I'll take that away as well. And now we're kind of getting down and we can see things like fruit, sometimes toast, get, it's we can remove as well. But ones like this are starting to be a little bit more interesting. And we can close that dialog there. It's really important to kind of customize this because whatever your project, you'll find ones which are kind of specific to you, but you still might want to have in other projects. Maybe you're interested in hesitation. Well, I'm not, so I'll take that out. Get, that's boring. I'll take that one out too. Maybe want to keep like. It's a very common word, but maybe it's showing that people have got kind of very positive preferences in this example. So it's kind of fun to keep these on here too. So I'll just close that dialog there, clicking on the stop words button there. You'll see there's this other one here, words in the project. And if we click and look down on that one, it's including the stop words at the moment, but we can untick that. You'll see it's basically now giving you a word count of what's in there. And it's got the actual number of occurrences as well. So I, by far the most common, that's occurring 57 times, the 40 times. But we can remove those stop words if we want. So now it's just showing us the ones that we've chosen to include there. We see like, toast, fruit sometimes. And it's got every counting of every word, even the ones which only appear once. What's quite nice is that you can copy and paste this, put it into Excel very easily, and then you can do some more kind of graphs and things like that. So let's create a graph here of this. There we go, insert a graph. So now we'll do a bar chart. So there you go, it's a different way to kind of show the frequency in the word frequency in our project there. See the ones which are common, very common. It's sometimes, I'll, jam, eat, lot. And dropping down here, love, also, end, bunch, cling film, all these different kinds of words. So very fun different ways to get the data out there, including the raw word frequency data, and play around with it. Now, when you're happy with how this looks, you'll see there's a couple of options here. This save PNG file, that's a standard kind of image file with transparency, which is quite important for this. That's why it's a PNG file. And that will create an image file that we can just save in here. And then we can put that into a Word document. Let's do that. Or into a PowerPoint presentation or something else like that. So then it's quite an accessible way to get our data in there. So we just go insert picture. So imagine this is in the middle of our folder. I think it was in documents, didn't it? Yeah, word cloud image. And there we go. We've got our word cloud that we generated in there, a nice star. And we can move that around, type around it, and so on and so forth. So that's allowing us to put that in a kind of more accessible format. And of course, we can print this out as well, put it into a report, absolutely anything with that image. The other option we have here is this Save HTML button. Now this will save as a standard web page, which you can open in another browser. So if I press this button here, it's going to open it in my default Firefox browser. And there we go. See all the different words. And it's a standard word browser, so you can play with it in any kind of way in there and share it with someone else in that way. If you click on the Save HTML file, then they can have, you can send a supervisor, a client, someone else that's got an interest, an interactive word cloud that they can explore and play with themselves. Okay, so that's the basics of the word clouds. There's one other kind of feature that's significant and new in here. There's a couple of other tweaked views and things. I can show you, for example, the overlap view. So if we want to see what people are for liking, we've made this a bit clearer now. We go to the overlap view, we've got this kind of automatically generated kind of target thing. And this kind of shows you much better how much these codes are overlapping. So that's overlapping 1, 2, 3, 4. And in bigger projects, you get a much better sense of the correlations happening between your different codes. So that's new in this release. Also, we know a lot of people have been using the hierarchical tree view. So we've tweaked that. We've added a lot more features so that all the options of what you could do in the bubble view, you can now do in the tree view as well. We've made a little bit more responsive. We've made it possible to show a lot more on the screen at once. We're going to keep tweaking this with your feedback. So we're always willing to hear any kind of comments or suggestions you had. But this has been a very popular feature, so we've tried to make it better as people have requested. Undo that there. So the other main thing that we've added is the file merge. And this is another thing that a lot of people have been asking for. And it means that you can have people who are working on different projects come together and bring their data all in one place. So if you've got, for example, someone doing coding of the same data, or you sent someone to do some sources and you're splitting up the work and you're doing the other sources, then you can bring all the you can bring those multiple projects together into one file. And to do this, you just have to click on the project button, then merge projects when you've opened a project. Now, by default, the project that you have already open will become what's called the master project. So that's the project, one of the projects that's being merged to. The master project is the project which basically, if there's any discrepancy between the projects being merged, that's the one that it takes as gospel. So the colors, for example, if somebody's changed the color of a quirk, then whatever is in the master project will be what comes through in the final merge project. So you may need to experiment a little bit and make sure your master project, which one should be the master project, and make sure that that's in the best kind of order for you. And the right kind of, it has absolutely everything you want, things in the right position. The other thing is things like the source properties will be taken from the master project. Again, if there's a discrepancy, otherwise stuff will be appended by default. So if you've got some data which is in one of the projects but not in the master project, so be that some coding, be it a source, be it a quirk, be it a source property even, that will be taken and added to the master project. But if there's a disagreement, so for example, if one source says that this, if one project says this source is male, the other one says it's female, whatever is in the master project will be the one that carries through. And you can always change that after it's been merged if there's particular things you realize, oh, that was a typo. But to make it simpler, rather than ask every time there's a conflict, we found that that was the easiest for our users to deal with. So I'm just going to show you an example of that here. Actually, before I do that, let me show you a part of the file. So basically, if you remember our referendum coded example that we have, now that allows us to look at the kind of raw data for a kind of real project. So if I take, where's the merge example? Yeah, here. So I've split this into different parts. So if we open part 1, for example, this is just a small part of the referendum project. So it's only got, I think, 4. Yeah, it's only got 4 of the sources in here. Some of the bubbles aren't included in here. We've got age, gender, class, but yes, I don't think there's a couple missing here. And there's also some differences in the source properties. So it's basically, this is the kind of project where you've had a bunch of people working, they're coding different sources, so you can all be working at the same time, so it comes together quicker, and then you want to put it all together and see how it looks. Remember, you can do this over and over again. It may not be the finished product, but you can always merge and remerge and keep adding into your project files. So if I go to the merge projects now, it's choosing referendum part 1 as the master project, and we can change that here. It's just the standard file dialog if we want to choose a different file for that. And then here's the projects to merge section. These are the ones that we want to add into the master project file. So if I click on add project here, we'll go to the desktop again, and the example project, no, sorry, the merge examples. And we can take multiple files and we can put them all in one go. So you don't have to do merge one file, then merge another. You can put them all in at once. So for example, we've got 4 different coders here. Let's choose the other 3, add them into the project here. If there's passwords on any of these projects, it will pop up and ask them for you. And you've got the option here in the next screen to choose the kind of default authors on the new project, and also to make the merged project password protected, because what it's doing is actually creating a new project with all the merged data together. It's not messing up the master project or any of those other projects. It creates a new separate project, and that's just in case there's something that you didn't want to merge in there. You don't want to mess up your original files. You always have those to edit and alter again. So for that reason, if I click merge now, it will ask me for a file name for the new project. It says create merge result. So I'll put that on the desktop again into the merged examples. I'll call this ref merged. Same on that. It'll click and work for a minute as it puts all those projects together. This is a pretty big project, but it doesn't really take very long. And now we've got, you can see these numbers are a lot bigger now. It's all got put together. And if we look here at the source browser, where we only had 4 sources before, I think it's 12 now or something like that. Something else has happened here. We've got Simon docx1, Simon docx2 with parentheses here. Now what this has done is it's, when you go to do the merge, it's noticed that these sources have the same name. So 2 of the projects had a Simon source in it, but those sources weren't identical. So someone had edited them, they'd altered some of the text, or it might be completely different text in there altogether. So what it's done is put both of those sources in. So you might need to go back and look at those, find out what the difference was between the sources. Now the reason for that, it seems frustrating, but if you imagine what the software is trying to do, if you've changed, so you've added a word or removed a word in one of the sources in only one of the project files but not the other ones, then everything's going to get shifted around, and that means that one of the files will always have the codes in the wrong place. So to prevent that happening, we create duplicates of any files, of any sources within the files which are not identical. And then that allows you to spot those. It brings them all together still, so you can still look and see what the differences are. So we can have a look and see what's different between these different Simon sources here. There's one of them. Where's the other one? Simon 2. I think they're fairly simple. So somewhere in there we've removed something, and there's a difference between the 2 sources, and that's why they've been duplicated. So if you do want to have them exactly in the same way, you can, that's absolutely fine, but bear in mind it's going to be something you have to work out if you want those sources to all merge together. So that's basically an overview of the new stuff in the new version of Quirkos. If you've got any other questions, feel free to always contact us, get in touch with us. I'll tell you what, let's just quickly run a word cloud for this. I don't think I've run for this project before. Interesting to see what people are talking about here. Do enjoy playing with these. I've got a blog post coming up in the next couple of days talking a little bit more about the word clouds and some limitations for them, some things that they are and not useful for. So have a look at this. Yeah, this is quite interesting, but we'll take away some of those smaller words. We'll put in, okay, so Q, because we've got questions and answers, so we want to get rid of that. I think that's quite boring, so I think I'll get rid of that. So people, it's interesting that people is such a common word. And then yes is obviously very important. No, because going SMP, we see there vote, campaign, referendum. So again, lots of fun to play and make these pretty in the right way we want to, and then we can kind of export these in any kind of format that we need. So I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any questions with these new features or the old features, don't hesitate to get in touch with us either in the forum. You can drop us an email, you can give us a call, contact us on Skype or Twitter. All the details for doing that are on our website, which is www.quirkos.com. Thanks so much for coming along today, and see you next time for the next overview.